Hey everyone, so I've been playing Genshin Impact for about a year now, and it's quickly become one of my all-time favorite games. One of the things that really drew me into Genshin Impact was the lore of the game. Being able to immerse myself into the world of Teyvat and learn about all the different cultures and people that exist in this fictional world has been such an amazing experience. That being said, recently there's been something that's been really bothering me when it comes to Genshin Lore, and more specifically the Genshin Lore experience. And that is the fact that we can't go back and relive past cutscenes and patch-specific lore events in the game, like the Unreconciled Stars event or the Shadows Amidst Snowstorms event. Now, in my opinion, the biggest issue here is the fact that we cannot go back and revisit patch-specific lore experiences. So take the Shadows Amidst Snowstorms event as an example. If you didn't play during the patch, you would miss out on all the lore contained within that limited time event. And this is the biggest problem when it comes to the Genshin lore experience. A lot of the things that we learn during these events are critical to the main story of the game. If you are a new player or can't play during the patch, you essentially lose out on information that I would say is pretty critical to the story of the game. And I think that really sucks, and I can see how it can get really confusing for newer players. Recently, I've had a few friends who just started playing Genshin, and after speaking with them, I realized how much they missed out on and how that affected their understanding of what is going on in the game. And it's affected me personally as well. I joined the game after the Unreconciled Stars event, and it wasn't until I started making Genshin lore videos that I discovered how much important information was contained within that questline. I feel like at this point, I've referenced the Unreconciled Stars event in at least 4 or 5 of my videos, even though I never got to play the game during that patch. So that just shows how important these events are, especially when it comes to the lore of the game. Also, it's pretty clear at this point that a lot of these events from these patches won't be getting rerun, so that means that you either have to play the game or completely miss out on pieces of the story. With no way to experience the lore from past patches, it significantly affects the player experience and results in some players missing out on important pieces of lore. The next problem, albeit a more minor one, is that we have no way to rewatch cutscenes and relive our past experiences from the quests in the game. And it really sucks, because a lot of these cutscenes were really well done, and I would love it if we had the ability to go back and rewatch them. For example, the cutscene with Signora's death was so shocking that I had to rewatch it a few times on YouTube before it sank in as to what had just happened. I think having the ability to go back and watch cutscenes like these would help make the game more immersive, and it's just a quality of life feature that I think would enhance the player experience. Also, on the flip side, for the devs, it probably sucks that a cutscene that you spent weeks and maybe months on is viewable for only one patch and then it goes away. So then, what's the best solution to this problem? Well, currently in the game, we have the archives, which players can access to go through the dialogue of past questlines. While this is nice, I'd bet that most players won't bother reading through pages upon pages of dialogue from old questlines. I think a better solution here would be to allow players to rewatch cutscenes from past events. With the cutscenes, MiHoYo can include a short summary that describes the events leading up to the cutscene. Additionally, I think it would be cool if this feature also showcased cinematics and stories from past events and patches. But what would this look like in the game? Well, in a recently released game called Lost Ark, they have something very similar to what I just described. In Lost Ark, there's a place called the Memory Room. In this room, players can open up a book that lists out all the cutscenes from the entire story of the game. If you select these cutscenes, you have an option to replay a cinematic and re-experience what occurred in the past. It's a really awesome system and allows people to go back and watch all the awesome cinematics that occurred during various quest lines. It's a really cool system and something I've used when I accidentally skipped cutscenes. Now, going back to Genshin, let's talk about what this could look like in the game. Well, first of all, I think it would be really cool if there was a place we could go to replay past cutscenes and stories. Don't get me wrong, I think the archive is a great tool, but I feel like most people probably don't even bother looking at it. So that's why I think having a location or object that we could go interact with would make for a more immersive experience when it comes to reviewing the lore of the game. The first thing that pops into my mind is maybe Mona's lab. From Mona's story quest and the Unreconciled Stars event, we know that Mona not only has the ability to view a person's destiny, but also get a sense of who they are through her use of astrology and hydromancy. Additionally, we know that Mona has been stockpiling astrology equipment in her lab in Mondstadt, so maybe she could use her powers of hydromancy and astrology to help us revisit past events and cinematics. Just imagine visiting Mona's lab and using her equipment to view our past and everything that has happened thus far. I don't know, I feel like this is such a cool idea and would be a really good way of integrating this kind of system into the game in a way that feels natural. MiHoYo, actually I guess their name is Hoyoverse now, so yeah, I guess Hoyoverse could even make a whole quest line where we help Mona with something like paying rent, and in return she gives us access to her lab and hydromancy equipment to revisit our past. So Hoyoverse, if you're watching this, please consider including some way for us to rewatch past cinematics within the game. So, to summarize everything we talked about so far, I personally feel that a big problem with the Genshin Lore experience is that players don't have the ability to revisit past events. Especially with all the one-time events, cutscenes, and patches, this results in newer players missing out on important lore details and makes the lore experience less than ideal. Since Hoyoverse hasn't rerun past events, I think the best way to address this issue is to allow players who have missed out on these patches a way to access past storylines and cinematics. Not only would this help newer players, but it would also be a great tool for lore junkies and degens like myself to have the ability to go back and view these awesome cinematics. Additionally, from a dev standpoint, allowing players to go back and view cutscenes and events that you potentially spent weeks or months on is something I think the devs would appreciate. Obviously, there are drawbacks. For example, I'm sure that adding another system in the game can make things more complicated. Additionally, the file size of the game is quite large at the moment, and adding something like this could make the game even larger, which is something that not everyone's device can handle. And so yeah, that's just my thoughts on the Genshin Lore experience. I've been thinking about this kind of stuff for a while, and I just wanted to talk about my thoughts and maybe ways we can address this issue. I know this isn't my typical lore video, but it's been something that has been bothering me for a bit, so I figured I'd just come on here and share my thoughts with you all. Don't worry, I have a lore video coming up, and it's about the Chasm, so look forward to that in the coming week. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.